Is there anybody out there?
The lights in the night sky. Skywatchers. We're watching. We're watching.
Did you see that?
Skywatchers.
Skywatcher on Skywatcher Radio. SkywatcherRadio.com.
And we are back, more with John Hansen. This is Deborah Jane East with Skywatcher Radio Show, and we're talking about Skinwalker Ranch. And I was just thinking about one of the things that was so fascinating, John, about the ranch was all of the disappearing cattle and the mutilations and stuff. What did you think about that?
Well, something else that was alleged was that a number of orbs were seen over the farm dogs, which then disappeared, or I think the actual word used was vaporized. Clearly, that was not the case. So, but I mean, where did that actually come from? Who was responsible for putting that on? I've not had the real pleasure yet of speaking to Ryan Burns. I spoke to him briefly a few nights ago, and he was having he just finished a broadcast. So Ryan Burns is the guy that actually moved there to Utah and has been actively involved in conducting his own research there. I find him a very interesting guy and a very knowledgeable man, and he's an accomplished diver, and I think he's spent quite a bit of time, skin diving in Bottle Lake. I think that's what they call it, Bottle Lake, which used to be called Bottle Ravine before they filled it many years ago. And local stories tell of all manner of strange things seen swimming on the surface of Bottle Lake. So, that whole area around there is obviously of great interest. But my problem is all I can do at this stage on Volume 10 is make some references to the Skinwalkers Ranch and contrast it against the things that have been picked up in Sedona, which I do know a little bit about, and also Rendlesham, which I know a great deal about, but I don't know very much at all about Skinwalkers. So I have to, as I say, acknowledge that guys like Ryan Burns and Colonel John Alexander, and other people that were involved, they're the men on the ground. But trying to get to the men on the ground sometimes is not particularly easy. So that's the position I'm in at the moment.
Well, I do know that there were quite a few organizations that were actually very interested in Skinwalker Ranch and doing investigations. But, there was a movie. I think the movie has already come out, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. And as I understand that, although, I'm sure I can't offhand remember having seen it, which is pretty unusual for me. But I do know that some people who were involved in it were interviewed, and I don't know when that interview took place, but I know that, let me say that some journalistic license was given to the abductions, which apparently didn't take place. Well, not abductions of people didn't take place, but, at least they've highlighted this what happened. But I've got all sorts of things in front of me that I've printed off about giant humanoids seen and crawling through invisible doors on the ground, and
it wasn't just about UFO sightings or lights. It was a variety of different things. That's what makes it so strange.
Well, that's absolutely correct. Yeah, but the trouble is that when you look at all of this, when you look back and you accumulate all this evidence, you've got to be a little bit careful, because perhaps you can, sometimes, as Colonel Alexander said to me, well, look, on a day-to-day basis, the farm carried on. There wasn't a great deal happening, but it was only perhaps spasmodically when things did happen. And
Well, it was a big place, wasn't it? Like 457 miles big. I mean, it was a huge place.
That's right. Yeah. But other things that they found were small three-toed footprints in the snow, and there were cows that went missing completely. They found the tracks of the animals in the snow or in the sand, and then they just disappeared. That is pretty frightening, because
that's pretty odd, because cows just don't disappear like that. They either lay down or they go for cover, when it's snowing. But if their tracks just, end and there's no cow, yeah, that's something to be alarmed about. I mean, I would be.
Well, I know that to say that the National Institute for Discovery Science was set up following the acquisition of the property by Robert Bigelow of Bigelow Aerospace. And according to what I've got in front of me, he was interviewed by the New York Times, and he disclosed that he said that I've been a researcher and student of UFOs for many, many years, and he said that anybody that does research, if people bother to do quality research, comes away absolutely convinced you don't have to have personal encounters. People have been killed. People have been hurt. It's more than observational kind of information. And yes, I suppose people obviously have been hurt over the years, but my attitude is that if these things wanted to hurt us, boy, would they do it.
Oh, yes. I'm sure that there would be a lot of us vaporized a long time ago. Because we certainly haven't been friendly to some of them, because people have saw, Air Force escorting, whenever there's some objects, getting close to military sites and stuff. So, I'm sure they have the power to take out whatever they want.
I'm sure they do. I was just going to say there are people out there that are probably wishful thinking, that probably wish that we would be vaporized. But
true.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, but it's the other guy I tried to get in contact was a guy called Carl Kelleher, PhD, and he was actually got a PhD in biochemistry from the University of Dublin, and he's a very clever man, and he was one of the other NID guys that were there. But so there was some. I keep saying these words because they do get a bit tedious, but there were some fantastic and incredible things happened there. But of course, these fantastic and incredible things continue to happen all around the world, and I'm told that you can't get into that ranch now. It's sealed off. You can't get in. Well, it's a hell of a big place to seal off, I suppose, but I don't think you can get into it anymore.
Wow, I was wondering. I mean, who owns the ranch now? I mean, who owns it?
Well, I really don't know. Now, as you know, it's said that the sightings included UFOs described as small box-like craft. Now, oddly, in front of me, I do have some cases involving box-like craft. Back in September and October and November 1980, and this was in England, and these were multi-witness sightings, and these were clearly rectangular or box-like objects that were seen moving over the sky. And then, of course, there is talk about doorways which opened up in the sky, and if you look back at the 1977 wave in Haverfordwest, in Dyfed, in that year, there was an awful lot of similar sightings of these things, including the most famous incident at Broadhaven School when all the kids saw at lunchtime what appeared to be a flying saucer on the side of the hill with some people standing next to it. But cases or reports like that are pretty familiar to me. So, but they, as I say, they should be preserved, because we on a previous call we had a laugh actually when we were talking about the forest and saying that maybe in 100 years' time there'll be little left of Rendlesham Forest. It will all be concreted, apart from a couple of pot plants with trees in there, because it will be a theme park. It'll be It'll be an alien theme park, and there'll be.
Well, it does. It gets a lot of traffic now. I mean, a lot of people go there, don't they?
Well, it's changing, isn't it? It's shifting because what was allegedly the Colonel Holt area that he from what he saw this thing that is really just flattened by the Forestry Commission, and they're just about ready to put in a flying saucer they've constructed out of fiberglass. So I suppose the next thing will be hot dog vans and donuts and.
That would be so sad.
Well, that's what's happening to it, and the thing is, you know, if you don't preserve this stuff in 100 years' time, it all just rapidly leaks away, and then people have forgotten completely about what did really happen. You know, but we're hoping to get you over here, so you can have a look in the forest yourself, Deborah.
Well, I do. I just feel like I need to come over there because actually my ancestors come from over there. And when I researched my family tree, I actually found my Martin coat of arms on a church, a great church over there. So yeah, it's always compelled me, and I've always wanted to see Stonehenge.
Well,
I've heard of a lot of things going on around Stonehenge. Well,
Stonehenge. I mean, I know there's been a lot of changes there, and the National Trust were certainly intending to move the car park and do this and do that, and like most places, they are so protective of these places for the right reason. Unfortunately, the energies don't seem to be the same. Years ago, you could actually, before my time, I hasten to add, you'd actually park next to Stonehenge and get out in your 1920 Austin, whatever it is. Well, of course, the times have changed, but I never feel anything from there. I feel a lot from Silbury Hill in Wiltshire, but even Silbury Hill, they won't allow people to walk up it anymore. You've just got to look at it, and sometimes looking at things is pretty negative. You have to go there, you have to walk on them and feel them, and because these energies are, I think, are very important. But Stonehenge is still one heck of a tourist attraction down there. But the whole of Wiltshire is an interesting county. I was going to say to you that we going back to, before I forget, going back to the apports, the stones that were picked up in Rendlesham Forest. I was speaking to a guy called Mike Oram, and he's a charming gentleman from Cumbria, and his experience with UFOs goes back to the Warminster days, and he's going to do a talk with me next year, hopefully in the Warminster area to celebrate 50 years of what took place down there. Well, he was telling me that recently he was in the forest, and Brenda Butler said to him, "Watch out for stones." And he said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, stones have been known to fall." And as soon as she said that, he felt something whistle through his hair. And,
oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and he picked up this stone and took it back anyway. I've got a photograph of it. But he's had it examined, and there appears to be a piece of wire in the stone, a very tiny piece of wire. Now, how on earth could a piece of wire be found in a stone in an apport? I appreciate, I've spoken to guys from the London area who are involved with paranormal groups, and they've had apports of coins and all sorts of strange things. So these things do happen, but I'm just wondering where that piece of wire came from. Could it be millions of years old? I mean, it's a pretty sacred place, that forest, and but things are changing, unfortunately. Trees are coming down, and false models of UFOs are being put up. So,
Well, yeah, I completely understand what you're talking about, John, because I recently went to Roswell, New Mexico, and there was a green alien on every fast food place, on every motel, every corner. I mean, it was, greatly commercialized. And some of the main places, they were actually very interesting, like the UFO Museum, but most of the people, everybody that I spoke with, I'd say, have you ever saw a UFO? And they said no. So, but it's, it attracts like 40,000 people a month. And actually this weekend is their big annual UFO festival, and it draws in like 150,000 people. So, people use, things like that for commercialism. But, I went down there because I wanted to get a feel. I wanted to get a feel of the place and see, how it was to be in Roswell. But beautiful, beautiful place, extra friendly people, out in nowhere. But it did me good because I came in contact with a couple of other really cool people that were researchers, so I really enjoyed myself. But tell me, how do you get your leads on your cases? Do you just make a list of what comes to your mind, or do people send you stories, or how do you know what you're going to research?
Well, back in 1995, we obviously bought as many books as we could on UFOs, and trusted our instincts and traced many people whose actual testimonial was, in a lot of respects, was different from what had been put in the book, because people copied and put it into the book. But what we used to do was go to the library, and I used to go through all the telephone directories before we had the internet. I used to phone up hundreds of people before I hopefully got the right one. Now, with the internet and Facebook, that is helpful, but a lot of people really are wary of discussing their UFO sightings and experiences, and a lot of people don't like having their photograph put in the books that we do. I can understand that, but as I said to you before, it is a subject that should be treated with far more seriousness, mainly because you cannot ignore the weight of evidence that indicates that this situation exists on this planet. The danger is that there are too many people that feel they have the answers. Well, of course, nobody has the answers. The only, if you like, the only information that we've gleaned now since the late 1940s is that the characteristics of UFOs have remained the same. And in a nutshell, sometimes if you can get close to these things and nothing happens, other times you can get close to these things and all sorts of strange experiences will happen afterwards. And what a lot of people report is that following the UFO experience, they will not only have some very weird dreams, but they will have some strange medical maladies, and also they will experience what they regard as paranormal phenomena, which often is not regarded as having anything to do with the UFO sighting itself, when in fact, of course, that has a lot to do with it. So, that, as I say, that's what we do, and we enjoy talking to people. We're not here to make money, because we don't.
We don't make money, do we?
We don't make money. Well, you might.
Well, I write romance books, so that's a different story. But most of the people like yourself, the hours and the amount of work that you put into your books, there's no way you could ever make enough money from the books to recover what you put into it. And it's you have to be compelled to do this, because there's just so much information that you have to run down and confirm. I mean, it's endless sometimes.
What it is, yes. And the frightening thing is that recently, thanks again to Brenda, we collected a huge amount of sighting reports from the Essex area from a guy called Ron West that used to run the East Anglian UFO Paranormal Research Association back in the mid-90s. And he was a very pedantic guy. He filed everything, and I have thousands of sightings of UFOs which have never been published before, and as I say, this tends to slow you down, but all of them will go in because it's so important. I mean, if anybody's got any information over there to do with UFOs, anything at all, and they want to check the dates out with me, if anything I've got, you know, your listeners can have, because it works both ways.
Well, tell them how they get in touch with you, John.
Well, the easiest way is on is email, or you can find Haunted Skies on Facebook anyway, or email, which is John Dawn, JOHNDAWN 1 @sky.com, and you know, please feel free to email me. It's something I can do to advise you or help you, or anything you can do the same for me. I mean, that's what it's about, really, because ultimately we all look for disclosure, don't we?
Right, and I do think that more of us should make an effort. You know, I mean, that's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to help other people with their books, radio shows, different things, share my knowledge, because if we can make a much bigger picture here all together, like a network, and help each other and share information, I think we'll be able to connect the dots a whole lot better.
I agree with you. Yeah, we have to work together on this. And it is about, as you said, it's about research. It's about trying to get some disclosure. It's not necessarily about expanding your super ego and trying to make as much money as you can.
Yes, I'll say amen. You know, say amen to that. Yeah, it's really not. It's really not, because, you know, I have, you know, you meet a lot of people doing radio, and some people, you know, I've been sort of afraid, you know, to interview them because they have such a reputation. But for the most part, the UFO community has really embraced Skywatcher's radio show, and I've been blessed to have some wonderful guests like yourself and other people who contact me from all over the world. It's really amazing. It seems like a lot of people are wanting to talk these days more than, you know, last year.
Yeah, and I've been blessed as well.
Well, tell me, John, I want to know what your very favorite UFO case is.
Well, apart from Rendlesham, I suppose, favorite one. I have so many. There's I suppose, yeah. What about 1967? Let's go back to October 67. This is when a number of UFO sightings of a cross-shaped object was seen all over the Devon area, and this was chased by police officers, and I managed to get in touch with the police officers and interviewed them, and the chief constable at the time said it was Venus, and of course it wasn't Venus, because we managed to track down a number of people before the officers saw these lights and chased them, and an awful number of people afterwards. So that was a very interesting case. Why the Flying Cross, bear in mind the Flying Cross UFOs it was called, was also seen and chased in October 1967 by police officers in your country as well. And then in November, there was the Flying Cross ceased to exist. So that in itself is a strange anomaly, where, and we're talking about people that are seeing a cross, a religious cross in the sky, bejeweled cross moving through the air. So that certainly wasn't Venus, and that was one of the sightings in 67. But the trouble is, too much imagery, too many reports, thousands of them, and the only way to do it is put them in these books. That's all I can do.
You're exactly right. And you were speaking about, the cross-shaped object in the sky. I've noticed that from Mexico, there seems to be a lot of anomalous-shaped UFOs that are not your ordinary disc-shaped or orbs. I mean, they're irregular shapes, and, I don't know what's up with that. I mean, I've looked at some really strange-looking things that people have got on tape.
Yeah, I mean, we've got another some stuff in front of me about a box-shaped UFO not far from Suffolk in 1980. Another case where the chap's wife went out to pick up the washing, and immediately hovering over the garden was this box-shaped object. It was a completely black box with lights all around it, and it then took off, and the family were interviewed, and in fact a policewoman came to see them and took statements. And a few days later, they received a visit from two men who said they were from a local university and told them to keep their mouths shut, otherwise something would happen to them. And it's matters like that should see the glare of publicity, because who are these people and what gives them the right to threaten people?
Well, I know, and that's, I recently had a guest, and, it was me that didn't want him to give his name. And I called him Charles. I had to make up something, so I thought that was a nice name. But
not James.
No, not James. It called him Charles, and he was very frightened. I mean, I could hear it in his voice. He was very nervous, shaky, carried this secret all his life, and when it happened to him, he was writing a book, and he got a threat, and he was thinking after all these years they would leave him alone, but he just had to tell someone. And I started thinking the burden that this man must be carrying. And, he never married, never had children, because he didn't want them to be used, if he had a wife or child, that they would threaten to hurt them. So basically, I mean, what kind of life can you lead with something like that hanging over your head? So I think they should pass an amnesty law, that if someone discloses information like that there should be amnesty, that they shouldn't be threatened. It should be against the law. They should do something so people can come forth with the truth and not worrying about getting shot.
Mm-hmm. I've come across it quite a few times. Let's be honest, as far as the police are concerned, they regard allegations like that as certainly as having no substance. I mean, even now you talk about UFOs, and most people look at you as if you're a little unsettled or a little unstable, which is ridiculous. But a lot of people, of course, aren't educated and have no wish to be educated on this subject.
Well, John, I live in Mayberry, North Carolina, home of Andy Griffith, and believe me, when people ask me, what's your show about? And I say UFOs, I never get a response. They just look at me, they just stare. They don't say anything. I think it really takes them by shock.
Yeah, I think our problem is that why on earth, I suppose it was more politically correct to change them from flying saucers to UFOs, mainly because UFOs is an ambiguous term and can mean anything. Whereas with flying saucers, and most of these things are flying saucers, and most of these things have three lights on them, and as I say, either triangular or flying saucers, and you mentioned that, and of course people think of science fiction, don't they? And a man fighting the alien hordes. And the frightening thing about all of this is that's probably got nothing to do with it, because we don't know. I can't labour that point enough. We don't know what these things are, and we don't know where they come from. But what we do know is that they are here. They've been here for a long time. And one does sense that maybe we're just on the shopping list, I think, for them.
Well, what I'm hoping in doing my radio show, and I know with you doing your books, it's just our part to try to help people to understand that, yes, they are here. We can't keep on sticking our head in the sand, and we do all that we can do. But I know that, you'll soon complete Volume 10. How many more volumes are you going to have, John?
Well, I wish you wouldn't ask me questions like that.
Well,
I
I want to know.
Well, you know something, Deb? When I started this in 95, I wanted to start with 95 because 95 was a tremendous beginning of a number of years up to 2000, because we spent so much time in Wiltshire and we interviewed people down there, and we spent a lot of time in crop circles and talking to people. And I just need to get up to 95, but at the moment we're only up to 1990 nearly, and this is ridiculous because you're talking about 10 short years off the end of the 20th century. You're probably talking about 4 volumes or 5 volumes to go. But I really would like to say that I always find I find it relatively easy to talk now about the subjects. I've been doing it for a number of years, but I perhaps think that people should judge me not on what I talk about tonight, but they should judge me on the books. And if they buy the books, I'm sure they'll be absolutely pleased with the books, and particularly with Volume 10, because I've worked hard on that. And that, of course, there's a lot in there that will attract the people from the States. A lot of information going back to 1940, which they won't have seen before. So that's the priority, I suppose. But
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to reading it. And once again, I'll just have to brag on all the pictures. And I really enjoyed you had newspaper clippings and stuff in there, so that was really interesting. But I want to thank you for being my guest. You're one of my favorites. You always have so much to talk about, and your work is so interesting. And I'm looking forward to Volume 10 coming up. And you want to tell everybody one more time about how to get your books and how to reach you?
Yes, I will just say that I must send you Volume 9. Volume 9, because there is some fascinating information about Colonel Wendell Stevens and the reptilians and David Daniels and some really fantastic stuff in that, which if I send you that 9 as promised, maybe we could have a natter about that. But
I would love that. That would be so awesome.
Yeah, so I will take care of that. But if people look for Haunted Skies on the Facebook, Haunted Skies, you'll find me on the internet.
Thank you so much. I look forward to having you on the show again, and I want to thank all the listeners out there for tuning in to Skywatchers Radio. John, you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Deborah.
You've been listening to Skywatcher Radio Show.
Is there anybody out there?
If you'd like to be a guest on the show, contact us through our website, skywatcherradio.com, or on our Facebook page.